Hello folks, welcome back to another edition of BC Renovation magazine. So for those of you that have been following along with us on our renovation of this old single-wide mobile home, you have seen this old shed and old fence at the back of the property here in several of our videos. We've talked about replacing this, and it was originally our intention to kind of do that as a first thing, but there was some circumstances that why we left it. One of them was that the original owners of the park had approved us for a 5-foot chain link fence, and we didn't really want to do that, so we were kind of humming and hawing. We really wanted to put a wood fence back here for a bit more privacy and a bit more security. So we changed owners of the park in March, and so we went through a little process there with the new owners to get approval for a wood fence, and they have approved us for a 5-foot wood fence along the back of the property here. So you can see this old shed here is in pretty bad condition. We've had some people comment on it like, oh, it's a good shed, you should keep it. But if you have a good look at it, you'll see that it's this thing is it's lived its life. So you can see how it's all sunken on the back there. So the camera's pretty much level there, and you can see how it's all sunk at the back. Kind of a funny little shed with the hip roof on it. And you can see on this side the shed where the sun has been shining on the shingles. You can see those shingles are toast. Sitting on a wood platform, and that wood platform is pretty much rotten. I don't think there was much treated wood used here. You can see how just how bad this is. So this is beyond saving. So it's going to come down, and we're going to put in a well, I don't know, we may or may not put in a new shed for now, for the winter's coming upon us, so we just want to get this cleaned up and get the ground leveled off here, and perhaps in the spring we'll put in a new shed. We'll see how it goes. The home will be for sale in the spring, so we'll kind of play that one by ear. But yeah, let's have a look inside of here. When we took this property over, this shed was full to the ceiling of stuff, junk. The guy that lived here was kind of a hoarder. So you can see this floor is all wonky. We've had rats in here. You can see where they've put some foam along the bottom here to try and close up these holes where it's rotted through. You can see where the rats have chewed it out. But here you can see the wood floor. There you can actually see outside. It's just it's just a mess. It's kind of funny how people will do things to try and save a building. I suspect that there's rats underneath this floor. When I pull this up, get rid of it, I think I'm going to probably find a few surprises. But up here we have our resident woodpecker. We did a lot of damage on the house, on the unit itself, the mobile home itself. Actually pecked through the roof there from the top. Like I say, this thing was just jam full. I don't know, I'll see if I can find some pictures of it. I might put them at the end of the video here. And then, of course, we had the old fence here. So this old fence has been hanging on by its last legs here. This is not treated wood. I don't know how old this fence is, but it's pretty old. and it's just, like I say, it's just kind of hanging together here. So this the goal this week is to get the shed out of there, and then we're going to get the fence out of here, and we're going to build a new 5-foot wood fence. This is a 4-foot fence, so it's going to be a foot higher, and try and get this cleaned up back here before the weather turns too bad on us. Okay folks, so we've got that old shed out of there, and we also have the old fence down, so you can see what that's looking like here. That old shed came out of there pretty easily. This is the little patch of ground here where it was sitting. The base was really interesting. We found a rat's nest underneath there, all kinds of rat droppings, and they had drug a bunch of cat food back in there to create a little food cache. But anyway, that's all cleaned up. Hauled that old shed away. That was two utility trailers with the stuff to the dump. Cost me $100 to get rid of it and tipping fees. So now we're working on the new fence here. So what I did yesterday, I'm into day 3 here now, so it was 2 days to get that shed and old fence out of here. But what I did yesterday to prepare for today was I set these 2 end posts. So I did this one here, and then I did the one over there by the neighbor's fence. And so I'm putting concrete in them. I'm setting these posts in concrete, and it's just the way I like to do it. Now you might wonder why we have this little gap here, and the gap is here because there's this post for this chain link fence is sitting in a big concrete footer, and so that's as close as we could get to it without disturbing that concrete around that steel post there. And it's kind of the same thing at the other end. So this fence is getting, it's roughly 42 feet long, and so we're dividing it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. So each section is not quite 8 feet. Now typically when you buy prefabbed fence panels, they're 8 feet long. So what happens then is that you have to set your posts at 8 feet apart, and then you end up with a kind of an oddball at the end. So you'd end up here, you'd have about a 2-foot section at the end. So you'd have to buy another 8-foot section in order to get that 2-foot section out to finish it. So I prefer to build my own fences from scratch. I don't buy the pre-made panels, but everybody has their own way of doing this. And then what I do is I evenly space the posts, and here we ended up with our posts 83.5 inches apart, and so that's just under, that's under 8 feet, under 7 feet actually. And what this does is everything will be nice and even when it's done. It gives us a very nice custom kind of a look, which is, makes it look a little bit more upscale than using everything prefab. So to show you what I'm doing here, what I've done is run a string from post to post. These 2 posts at each end are set plumb, and they're in concrete, so they're solid now today. And so I've put the string there. I've stood it off 3/4 of an inch with that piece of wood there from the post, and then you can see the string running along the ground here, and that goes all the way to the other side. And so now, as I'm setting these posts up here, I'm just setting them back 3/4 of an inch from the string there, and so that's keeping me straight. So this way I don't have the string touching the post. So if I'm a little bit off on the post, it's not going to matter, but at least it's not messing my string up where I repeat an error. And that string line is level across the back, So it's always nice to have. It's more pleasing to the eye if you can have things plumb and level. And so that string is level across the bat there. And I determined that with using my laser. So I've got my laser set up here, and all I did was, shoot a line over there at each end, each post, and then just ran the string across between them. And so I like to set my posts in concrete, and so this is how I'm doing it. I've got I buy the ready mix concrete in the bags, and it's pre-mixed, and you just add water to it. So here I've got a batch going in the wheelbarrow, and I dig my holes are about 2 feet deep. I keep getting the shadow here. So about 2 feet deep, and here's one that's got concrete in it. I'm going to be putting a little bit more in there, but just as I go, I plumb the posts and just kind of go from one post to the next. So altogether today I'm setting 5 posts here, and then I'll be ready to put up the panels. Okay, so this is how this area is finished up back here. The old shed is gone, the old fence is gone, and you can see we built the new fence along the back side. It's roughly about 43 feet of fence that we built there. So that's left us with a little garden spot here. And this is where the old shed was. So this would be a good place to put a new shed. We're not going to do that right now. We may in the spring, we'll see about that. But the fence is custom made. We didn't use any prefabricated sections here. I don't like to use the prefab sections because then I end up with uneven spacing. So this way you can see we've got the same size of panels all the way along. It's a very simple fence to build. So you just take your total distance and divide it by the number of panels that you want. And so here we ended up with a panel. It's I don't know, about 7 feet wide. And we just used the 4x4 posts, sat them about 2 feet into the ground, into concrete, and then we, on the bottom of the fence, we made this T. You can see we have a 2x4 on the flat and a 2x4 up on edge. What that 2x4 on the T, that T 2x4 does down there is helps to prevent the fence from sagging between the posts. Gives it some stability that way. And then what we did is we took a 2x4 and ripped it down to make that second piece that you see there, and then the fence boards are screwed to the back side of that. Sort of the same thing up on the top, except we didn't do the T, we just did a flat 2x4. So here again the 1x6 fence boards go up behind that lower piece of 1x and are screwed from the back side into it. So we've got that the same on both sides. So this fence looks the same on both sides. This is kind of what's called a good neighbor fence, so no one has a bad side. Some fence designs you have one side that looks nice and the other side doesn't look great, whereas this fence is the same on both sides. So now the material we used here is a pressure treated, I believe it's a pine, so you don't have to do anything to this. It will just weather down. If you want to, you can put a stain on it or a paint. If we were going to do something with this, I would suggest you use a semi-transparent oil stain. That makes life much easier down the road when you go to refinish it as the finish wears. If you put paint on, then you get into you're having to scrape paint and everything else. Some people suggest that you use some of the newer water-based stains. I'm kind of old school, I've been doing this for over 40 years and I grew up using the oil-based stains, so that's kind of really what I prefer. So we've got a 5-foot fence board there. We didn't cut the boards at all, we just made everything so that it was going to fit. And so with the 5-foot fence boards, and then with our 2x4s top and bottom there, we ended up with a fence that's about 5.5 feet tall. If you were to put a finish on this, they recommend that you don't do anything with it for a year. So, it would be next spring at least before we do anything with that. And you basically want the preservative to flash off. But that's a fence that should last quite a long time. And we may leave it up to the new owners. This home will be for sale when it's done. To put a shed there. Sometimes people like to kind of do things themselves to personalize it, or we may do a shed for them. So I just wanted to show you how that's cleaned up. We still got, you always do the best you can, but this is still a little bit unsightly along there. There's things that could be done with that as far as landscaping. That's the other side of the fence, so we can't do that much with that. We've got good neighbors over here, but they've got lots of stuff going on the other side there. Something that could be done there is that you could plant a row of some kind of cedars or something against that to screen that. But you get into older places like this, and you get this where fences are put in front of fences, and it's just kind of the way it goes. So we do the best we can to clean them up as good as we can, and that's all we can do. So we haven't done a lot of landscaping in the back here. We just kind of clean things up, and this is going to again be a sort of a place where the new owners can kind of do what they want to personalize it. We've created the beds, we've kind of done the hard work. So around here we've created planting beds, and around the back here as well, so that people can, if someone moves in that's a gardener, enjoys that, they've got lots of place here that they can go crazy with landscaping if they want, or they can just leave it simple. Alright folks, thanks for watching.